3 inmates would brutally kill a sex offender who was doing 35 weeks for rape. Just one day before he goes home, these 3 inmates would break into his cell and in just 37 seconds take his life. Let's watch the video of them smirking in the camera after they see their opportunity when an officer accidentally forgot to lock the sex offender's door. I'll get into the backstory afterwards. So as you can see, they're kind of looking, making sure whatever's going on, probably talking about the officer's mistake. They walk in there. Dude probably thinks his cell door is locked, sleeping on his bunk or something. Hello. Looks like they have a lookout there in green. Red dot and blue dot are probably talking shit, scaring him. Dude was probably selling out. They walk in there. Now let's see the time that it takes. Someone's coming by. They're still in there. They come out, looking around like they didn't do nothing. 37 seconds. Run that back. Door, red dot right behind them. Now right at 7:26, they're in there, right? Still in there. Not even a minute went by. After seeing it took only 37 seconds to walk into a Chomo cell on camera, they taunted him at the door, talked some shit, and brutally beat him to death in what is supposed to be one of the safest prisons in the world. They call it the new way of doing time. I mean, look at dude. He's walking around in a bathrobe, hanging out, which shows you these Chomos have no chance. Not even at the Hilton prisons. This wasn't just an impulsive attack. This was a planned, coordinated hit. Word catches him, the young man with the red dot on his head, who came in with 3 years, ultimately now is doing 17. Abdul Raham was serving a 35-week sentence for sex offenses. That's crazy in itself, and I found his crimes. In the early hours of the morning of July 24th, he trespassed into the grounds of accommodation near the leisure center and got into one of the ground floor flats via a window. His 4th victim woke up to find him standing at the bottom of her bed. He said sorry and then left. She reported the incident and CCTV showed the Chomo rapist piece of shit getting in. On the 31st of July, the same woman heard noises outside of her flat in the night and opened the curtains to see the rapist standing there, looking straight at her, blew her a kiss before running off like a coward. Rahman was arrested and questioned about all of the offenses and was charged with 4 counts of sexual assault, 1 count of trespass with intent to commit sexual offense, and 1 count of voyeurism. He denied everything, but was found guilty of sex offenses at the leisure center and also trespassing with intent to commit sexual offense and voyeurism. Oh, but it gets worse. He assaulted 2 of the women in a swimming pool at St. Helens Leisure Center on the 26th and 29th of June. He got talking to one of the women when she was in the pool with her daughter and then followed her into the sauna where he sexually assaulted her. After the incident, she left the center and noticed he had accessed one of her social media accounts and liked her pictures. She later contacted the police. A couple of days later, he got talking to another woman in the pool area and followed her into the sauna and then the steam room where he sexually assaulted her, and she left. She reported the incident and Rahman was arrested. And then on the 17th, he sexually assaulted an 18-year-old girl in the alleyway that she was separated from her friends. Fast forward, he got 35 weeks sentence. After knowing all that, and somehow he only has 35 weeks in prison after being originally sentenced at 7 years, I think some inmates would be pissed off too. The trial heard the rapist asked to move cells because he did not feel safe on the day before he was killed, with his cause of death being given as a fatal bleed at the base of his brain. In a phone call to his mother, Kareem said the rapist's 35-week prison sentence for sexual offense had led to other inmates terrorizing him for days, the court heard. Following an incident just the previous day in which the rapist allegedly threw water from a kettle at Smith and Robinson, CCTV showed the pair entering his cell after it was unlocked by a prison officer who continued on their morning rounds. In the footage, Robinson, who was found guilty of manslaughter, could be seen grinning as he and Smith made their way to the rapist's cell, where they spent around 37 seconds. Prosecution counsel Michael Burrows told the court that Kareem kept watch outside the cell while Robinson and Smith were inside attacking the rapist, stomping, kicking his head and his neck. All three defendants would deny that they ever wanted to kill the rapist. In the half an hour after the attack, Mr. Burrows said all three defendants returned at different points to look into the rapist's cell, and on 2 occasions, other inmates threw water at him to see if he would jolt back to life. In the trial, they said that the rapist previously had tuberculosis, which had weakened the bones in his neck. Yet, the post-mortem examination found multiple abrasions and bruising to his head and neck, which were consistent with an assault, and fractures to the ribs at the back of his body, which would have required force at the severe end of the scale. The jury was told that on November 25th, after Smith had been moved to a different prison following the attack, he had let it slip out in anger that he is alleged to have done, telling a prison officer, "I'm in for murder. I've already dropped one body and I will take another if you keep fucking with me." Bashir Smith, at 19, was convicted of murdering the sex offender, brutally stomping on his head and neck, and he was just 4 months into a 3-year term at one of Britain's safest jails for a lesser firearms offense. Yet, after being able to carry out the lethal attack, he has now been landed with a life sentence. Abdul Raham was killed in his cell the day before he was due for his release. The Category C prison has been mocked by critics for resembling student halls, with inmates also given their own personal computers that double up as TVs. State-of-the-art facilities include a music classroom where record company representatives can help offenders train in music production. Damn, I spent my entire bid locked in a dungeon, years in confinement, wiping my ass with my bed sheet because they didn't give us toilet paper. And these dudes got Versace bathrobes, Dr. Dre beats, training them to make records, libraries with artificial turf, sports pitch, footage from inside the Scandinavian-style jail housing 1,715 inmates, revealed ping pong tables for inmates to enjoy, as well as workshops available while cells have barless windows. All that shit, right? And they're still whacking sex offenders. You do the math. Stop raping and hurting our children and women. These dudes are literally in the safest, most high-tech facility. They're making rap albums, walking around in Versace raincoats, and an officer still accidentally opens the door of a sex offender. They still accidentally go in there, beat him to death on camera, and risk a 3-year sentence and turn it into life. So whether you're in the most grimiest of prisons and dirty situations like I grew up in America, we see New Orleans and Florida and all these situations I cover, or you go to one of these Scandinavian style prisons where life is good, right? They're still taking out these chomos. They're still doing it in front of everybody. The man's recorded phone call said he's being attacked, assaulted, and he goes home in just 1 day. All this technology. They got flat screen TVs. When I came out of prison, it was like leaving a time capsule. I never saw a touchscreen phone. I had no idea what touchscreen laptops were. None of that existed. All we had when I left was a BlackBerry. These dudes are gonna come home with platinum selling records, Versace raincoats, and bathrobes, looking like they're living better than 90% of us on the streets. Yet a rapist still gets whacked on camera at a high-tech facility where everybody's trying to do sweet time. The corruption is still there. They would even go on to say it sparked an outrage on social media, with one person writing, "Lovely hotel. It would be nice for a weekend getaway." 3 young men, 19, 21, and 38. Smith had 3 years. Robinson had 5.5. And most likely Kareem told, because nothing is publicly disclosed. He was probably the lookout and told on everybody. Smith, who came in with 3 years, is now doing 17.5. Robinson, who had 5.5, is now doing 11. And it looks like Kareem, who was acquitted of all charges, told on everybody. They probably gave him a peanut butter squeeze and a laptop and a Versace raincoat. All in all, regardless if you're in the Hilton or you're in the dungeon like where I grew up, you're a chomo, you will get hit up. Stay out, stay free.